Okay, so in this episode, we are going to take a deeper look into the waves themselves. I will be specifically focusing more on the impulsive waves, and then on the next video, I will be talking about the correctional waves. So, without wasting more time, let's begin. So, the impulse patterns. Each impulsive wave can be made of one of these three different patterns, while inside the formation of each leg: impulsive waves, impulsive with extension, and diagonal. Now, I won't be going too extensive in terms of every exact little tiny detail of the waves. Some things I think are important to learn and some things aren't, but I will touch up on them later on down the series for any of you guys that want to get more specific or more fine-tuned with each corrective and impulsive wave. Okay, so starting off, we're going to talk about impulsive waves, which is simply the mini waves inside each leg, counting only the ones in waves 1, 3, and 5. So the impulsive waves, what I mean, I'm not just talking about regular waves. I'm talking about there's impulsive waves inside of impulsive waves themselves. So let me open up this example for you. So as you can see, we are only looking at the impulsive legs themselves. So we got impulsive 1. Inside of this impulsive leg, you have some more impulsive and corrective waves. Right here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, we're specifically focusing on the impulsive legs themselves. So you have one impulsive leg, another one right here, and then another one right here. So impulsive leg 1, impulsive leg 3, and impulsive leg 5. Same thing here. Inside of this impulsive leg, you have another 5 wave count. And again, we're focusing on just the impulsive legs. So you have 1, another one right here, which would be 3, and then another one right here, which is 5. So 1, 3, and 5. Same thing here. 1, 3, and 5. That's it. That's literally it. That's all we're going to talk about for that specific portion. Okay? Now let's hop on to the next part. Now next is impulse with extension. Impulses are like steps in a pattern that usually have a longer step or extension in one of 3 places: the first, third, or fifth step. First, third, or fifth wave. These extensions are just longer steps in the pattern with more parts to them. In things like the stock market and Forex market, these longer steps often happen in the third step, in other words, the third wave. But in the commodities market, for things like oil or wheat or whatever, these longer steps often happen in the 5th step. So here's an example real quick. So as you can see here, let's start off with the first impulsive leg. Sometimes the first impulsive leg will be seriously extended. So it would be really long, and then in the inside, or the subwave of impulsive leg 1, or the mini waves, you'll have either this wave, the first impulsive leg, as well extended, or you can have all of them extended. So you can have 1, 3, and 5 extended. Same thing here. Sometimes you'll have the third impulsive leg extended, and inside you'll have only the third one, right? You'll have maybe only the third one extended, or you can have all of them. So you'll have 1, 3, and 5 as extended inside the third impulsive leg, this extra green highlighted one right here. And then lastly, on number 5, you'll have a seriously extended wave. Wave 5 could be seriously extended, whether on the higher time frame, the same time frame, lower time frame, whatever. This can happen on any time frame. And then you'll have the subwave inside it, subwave 5, this one right here. That could be extended all on its own, or all of them as well. Okay? Anything can happen. Now, let's talk about this part real quick. For example, wave 1 is the one that's extended. The waves inside it can also be extended. An extension is an elongated impulse with exaggerated subdivisions. Most impulses contain what Elliott called an extension. The vast majority of impulses contain an extension in one and only one of their impulse waves. This can happen in either wave 1, 3, or 5, typically happening in only one of said waves. So in other words, it's telling you usually out of the whole count, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only one of these will be extended or elongated. Now I'm not gonna lie to you, anything can happen. Let me explain this to you. So if wave 1 is extended, it will have more detailed or exaggerated subdivisions, which means that the waves inside wave 1 can also be extended. However, it's important to note that while this is a common occurrence, it's not a strict rule and exceptions can occur. In other words, you can have a little bit of everything. You can even have pretty vast corrective waves. So the corrective waves, in other words, like versus corrective wave 2, right here, that could be fairly extended, although that's not very common. And another thing is, sometimes, very rarely, you can have all of them to be extremely elongated or extremely extended. It doesn't always happen, but it can happen. Nothing is actually set in stone. These are all just general rules and guidelines that people have generally agreed on that says, hey, this is what appears to be pretty common. These are the kind of rules that appear with it. So just keep that in mind. Now, I want you to also understand that it does not change the fact that you will be entering, or it doesn't change how you will enter. The only thing that changes is how long or how big your take profit will be and how big your stop loss can be. Because if it's extended, then you might catch more pips, and that also means that you might have to have a bigger stop loss depending on where you enter. But it does not change whether you're going to enter for a buy or sell. No matter how extended or how retracted it is, you'll still enter for the same position, whether it's for a buy or a short. Okay? So hopefully that cleared that up. Next is diagonals. There are two main types, leading and ending diagonals. Leading diagonal is not in Elliott's original work, but it appears enough times that we are convinced of its validity. Now you can skip this part if you want to, but I highly recommend you take a look at it because it does appear. Sorry guys, I had to remove the two examples that were here. Apparently I misplaced them. They were not supposed to be in this area. But anyways, leading diagonals are a special type of pattern that can appear in the first wave of an impulsive or corrective wave. It's a bit like a starting signal that shows a new trend might be beginning to form. So here's an example of a bullish ending diagonal. So yes, these can appear in corrective waves as well, like versus corrective wave 2 or corrective wave 4. But specifically, I'm going to talk about them in terms of the impulsive waves, right? So as you can see, it's opening up from the top and the bottom. And inside of this entire impulsive wave, this whole impulsive wave, I guess the bronze looking impulsive waves here, you can see that inside it's forming a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 expanding diagonal. After it reaches 5, what does it do? It comes down and corrects itself, and then goes back up, down, and then up. So a leading diagonal is made up of 5 smaller waves, labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As we have it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 2 must not go beyond the beginning of wave 1. In other words, this must not go down here, right? We already talked about this. Wave 4 must not go beyond the beginning of the wave 3. In other words, it should not pass the beginning here. So this whole thing is wave 3, and it cannot go past the beginning of it. Some people count wicks, some people don't. While the rules of Elliott wave theory are widely accepted and used, they are not set in stone and do allow for some interpretation and flexibility. Okay, now next is leading contracting diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In a contracting diagonal, wave 1 is the longest, while wave 5 is the shortest. So as you can see, wave 5 is pretty long. Wave 1, is pretty long, and then wave 5 is pretty short. And then here, in an expanding diagonal, wave 1 is the shortest, and wave 5 is the longest. As you can see, when it first started, 1 is the shortest, 5 is clearly the longest. And something else I need to also add on top of this. Whether it's leading, expanding diagonal, leading, contracting diagonal, it honestly doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day, if you do recognize the pattern, you're still going to enter short regardless. So you would still enter a short position here or on here. It doesn't matter if it's expanding or not. It's going to do the same thing regardless. So I wouldn't be too focused too much on whether, oh, it's expanding, or is it contracting? Which one is it? I can't tell. Oh my God, the world's gonna end. Bro, you're gonna be fine. Just mark them up. Make sure you mark them up right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's it. If you know that you're in an uptrend and the sub wave is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count, you finished up here, right? You realize, okay, it looks like we finally reached the final count. Then I'm gonna enter for a short. I'll show you another one for a sell model. So give me a sec. Okay, here, same thing. Leading, expanding diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here you can enter for your buy position. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would still enter for a buy position. It doesn't matter. As long as you think you labeled it right, you should be straight. Okay? So let's move on to the next one. Ending diagonals are a bit like a finishing block in a race. It signals the end of a trend and has a unique shape that sets it apart from other patterns. This pattern appears on the end of the impulsive wave 5 or corrective wave C. That's when we start getting to the A, B, C, D, E patterns, okay? So I'm gonna open up a quick example for you. Okay, so ending diagonal is usually characterized by overlapping wave 1 and 4. See, this is where they start overlapping, right? This goes beyond wave 1. That's why I say changes. And also by the wedge shape. However, the overlap between wave 1 and 4 is not a specific rule, so it may not happen. So yeah, it may or may not overlap wave 1. It's whatever you see at the moment. So as you can see, higher time frame, this is the higher time frame, and the sort of grayed out is the lower time frame. As you can see, at the end of the wave, an expanding triangle or contracting triangle forms. So you have 1 starting from the end of wave 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once it reaches the 5th point on the higher time frame, price should theoretically go down, forming an BC pattern, and then goes back up. Now imagine this. Let's say you are in a corrective wave, which I should probably show you down later on. Let's say you're in corrective wave 4. And here you can also have A, B, C, D, and E. You'll have 5, basically 5 waves in total. And then it goes back up, and then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing, right? It's not that hard. It ain't nothing crazy. And here I also have one for a bearish model. So same thing here, starting from wave 4 on the higher time frame, you can start marking up your lower time frame sub waves. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And theoretically, it should correct itself at the end of wave 5, whether it'll be starting a new trend or just a simple corrective wave to restart the count. And then you'll be going again on the higher time frame. You'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty easy. It's pretty simple. Okay, nothing crazy. So this concludes the part for the impulse patterns. I'll make another video talking about the corrective waves themselves, but I didn't want to include them in this video because I didn't want to make them extensively long. I wanted it to be fairly short, sweet, and simple for you guys. Okay, so take care, guys. God bless you all. I pray that you guys may understand these concepts. Hopefully it clears out a few questions that you might have. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.